the intelligence that came out of the Defense Intelligence Agency in the Pentagon, basically US military intelligence, showing, as we all knew, as all of us who watched the strike and saw, who followed this on Telegram and have seen the Maxar satellite imagery and who heard Iran's statements ahead of the strike that it had removed its 60% enriched uranium stockpile already, and that the facility may have been actually so well reinforced that a 30,000-pound bomb or a series of those bombs and Tomahawk missiles couldn't have actually penetrated the hall where the centrifuges are, that the DIA leaked an assessment that Fordow was not actually destroyed. This echoes what we just heard today from Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi, who said that Natanz and Isfahan had been severely damaged, but he avoided any mention of Fordow. And so Trump goes to NATO, and this becomes the key question for Trump at NATO. And Aaron, this kind of scene will probably be familiar to you because you spent so much time and energy scrutinizing Russiagate, except in this case where the media is serving as a channel, many of the same figures who are channels for the so-called intelligence community on Russiagate, what they're publishing is true. And Trump is being confronted with it and asked, do you trust the intelligence community? Volume here.
Hello, Mr. Secretary.
Yeah.
For a tactical reason with President Putin.
Let him answer.
Hello, Mr. Secretary.
Yeah.
So they're being asked, do you believe the intelligence assessment that you didn't destroy Fordow? Trump hands it over to Pete Hegseth to defend him.
There's a reason the president calls out fake news for what it is. These pilots, these refuelers, these fighters, these air defenders, the skill and the courage it took to go into enemy territory flying 36 hours on behalf of the American people and the world to take out a nuclear program is beyond what anyone in this audience can fathom. And then the instinct of CNN, the instinct of the New York Times is to try to find a way to spin it for their own political reasons to try to hurt President Trump or our country. They don't care what the troops think. They don't care what the world thinks. They want to spin it to try to make him look bad based on a leak. Of course, we've all seen plenty of leakers. And what do leakers do? They have agendas. And what do? Do they share the whole information or just the part that they want to introduce? And when they introduce that preliminary report that's deemed to be a low assessment, you know what a low assessment means? Low confidence in the data in that report. And why is there low confidence? Because all of the evidence of what was just bombed by 12 30,000-pound bombs is buried under a mountain, devastated and obliterated. So if you want to make an assessment of what happened at Fordow, you better get a big shovel and go really deep, because Iran's nuclear program is obliterated. And somebody somewhere is trying to leak something to say, oh, with low confidence, we think maybe it's moderate. Those that dropped the bombs precisely in the right place know exactly what happened when that exploded. And you know who else knows? Iran. That's why they came to the table right away, because their nuclear capabilities have been set back beyond what they thought were possible.
So I think Hegseth had prepared that rant, and they were ready
also
for that.
From the Iraq playbook, like if you criticize us, you don't support the troops. It's the exact same line. But he's not a good. If he's the guy trying to make the case for the Trump administration, they got to find somebody else, because he's just such a transparently phony actor, right? It's just like he just screams disingenuousness, like starting with like, how dare you insult the troops by saying we didn't destroy their Iran nuclear program? Who's going to believe that? I don't know whose assessment is correct. I mean, their claim is that this was done with low confidence, right? That one Defense Intelligence Agency assessment is low confidence. To me, but the debate is just like, even if they did strike those sites and set them back, Iran still has the enriched uranium. Iran still has plenty of technical know-how. And Iran has the sovereign right to enrich, and they're going to keep doing that. They're not going to. I think the bottom line is they're not going to listen to U.S. orders. They just, and that's why we have a conflict, is because Iran refuses to accept U.S. Israeli orders to abandon its sovereignty and make itself defenseless.
Yeah, I mean, we should talk about that, Iran's relationship with the IAEA and the NPT, but I think we need to. I'm struggling to contain the reflex and temptation and impulse to mock Pete Hegseth and Trump being Orange McCain for failing in their strike, because where do these reporters really want this to go? I mean, you know, from the lessons of the staged chemical incidents in Duma, Khan Sheikhoun, and Trump being under siege in the Rose Garden from the Beltway press corps, what they were pushing him to do. Whoever it is.
Yeah. You know, according
They're pushing him for more war, and they're
Yeah.
doing it now, unlike with Russiagate, where they were using phony intelligence assessments that were cooked, that were hyper politicized. This one is real, but it's obviously being introduced to draw Trump back into Iran. And he doesn't seem to want to go there again. He wants he wants to call this a day so he can get back to sending ICE agents into Home Depot parking lots and the real America First agenda.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is classic. I mean, this was all throughout Trump's term. The media pushback on him was that he's not being hawkish enough. And he took many opportunities to prove how tough he can be, including by bombing Syria over the staged Duma incident. And there's a line from John Bolton's book where he's talking about Trump's response to that false flag in Duma. And Trump says something like, either my pride is at stake or my legacy is at stake. So what the media is doing here is playing on that by trying to like mock Trump for not being enough of a tough guy.